Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. So today I am going to do the this or that book tag. It is a new tag for people April and beyond from Ros at Scallydanding about the book and Elizabeth at Bokins Books. I will link both of their channels there. And this event for people April involves reading, I believe, a biography or a memoir or possibly even some letters of a figure. It doesn't have to be anything long. It doesn't have to be in depth. If you want to participate in the event, they must have event videos, and I'm sure I've seen them. I'm not remembering anything right now, but I will put relevant links into the description box below. So my last tag video that I did went on over long, a simple tag, and I went on for 40 minutes, and I don't think really caught the spirit of the tag. So I'm going to try to go a little quicker. This one has 12 prompts. Number one, do you prefer big, fat, and detailed biographies or short and succinct biographies? It probably really depends on the figure that we're talking about. I don't read a lot of biographies. Let's just say short and succinct ones. Number two, celebrity memoirs or average Joe memoirs? Well, I would definitely go for celebrity memoirs. I'm not a huge fan of average Joe sorts of books. As Pat at Book Chat with Pat, who kindly tagged me, said she tends to read memoirs, if she does, about or by authors that she loves. And that's my status as well. I don't read letters. I don't read biographies. I don't read memoirs unless it's an author that I love. So I've read some of each of Dickinson, T.S. Eliot, Claude McKay, but those are few and far between. So, number three, complete correspondence or selected letters. I could go either way. Let me see. Gosh darn it. Pardon me. I had it right here all the time. I've just woken up. Now, I took much delight in reading this, which is one of those compilation memoirs, so to speak, where they've patched together pieces from his journals and his letters. Better editions of his journals exist now, and it's on my list to want to read that sort of thing. I would also willingly plunge into his various letter compilations, but I find time is short. So, complete correspondence or selected letters. With a figure like Kafka, I would be happy to see a complete letters. I would take selected letters if that's what was available to me. And I, for my own purposes, I'm sure that a selected letters would be fine. My own purposes being merely, I suppose, a kind of gossip or voyeurism. I don't think one really needs to know the personal lives of authors or of anybody for that matter. But it's one has a natural curiosity, and so I don't belittle that urge by any means, and myself have indulged it. Memoirs, number four, memoirs written when the events are fresh or memoirs written with hindsight. I will go with Pat on this and say with hindsight. Number five, gossipy biographies or scholarly biographies. And there I would go scholarly, perhaps. But Again, mainly because I tend to restrict myself to literary figures. 6. Diaries of ordinary life or diaries of extraordinary events. In that case, it, I suppose, again, depends upon the person that you're talking about. Extraordinary events, certainly, I would go for that. Diaries of ordinary life, it depends on the person. Diaries are the things that I'm least inclined to look at, I would suppose. But then I just very recently finished reading the Diaries of John Quincy Adams, a known diarist, a serial diarist, if you will, and found it quite enjoyable. Although part of that was because of the ordinary figure that he presented, but then also because of the extraordinary circumstances of the times in which he lived and the positions he held during those events. So, number 7, Arty memoirs or sporting memoirs. I would probably have to go with sporting memoirs. For that, I can't think of any Arty memoirs that I have read, but I have read sporting memoirs. Number 8, gritty autobiographical writing or inspired autobiographical writing. Gritty all the way. I don't incline towards inspiration other than of the poetic variety. Number 9, biographies of historical figures or biographies of contemporary figures. I would say historical there. There are so many relevant historical figures that one has a curiosity about. Again, it is not my first inclination. So, for example, recently I read the selected letters of Charles Sumner. Mostly pretty dry stuff, but I wanted to get to know the man himself, and I didn't feel that I would as well with a biography. I don't tend to look to biographies as a vehicle for getting to know the subject, but as a vehicle for getting to know the author of the biography. Where were we? Gritty or inspirational, historical or contemporary? Yeah, I would go with historical rather than contemporary. Memoirs of happy days or memoirs of tragic days? I would go with tragic days, if you will. What was the book I read just a couple of years ago? It was a memoir, really, When Time Stopped by Ariana Newman, about her father's concealed past. He had been a Jew living in Berlin during the Second World War, and she knew nothing about this whole aspect to her father's history. And so the book became a memoir. It covered her father's time in Berlin and after, but it also was about her relationship to him and her experience finding these things out. It was very enjoyable. But of course, the relevance there was the tragic days, if you will, of the Second World War. Now, there is a bonus prompt from Elisabeth, the complete diary of Samuel Pepys. That's spelled P-E-P-Y-S, but I think they say Pepys. Over 4,000 pages, or 116 hours and 16 minutes of audiobook, or selections from the diary of Samuel Pepys, which can be as short as 120 pages or 3 hours and 55 minutes of audiobooks. I'm going to choose option C. I would like to go to London and visit the spots where Samuel Pepys walked and see where the city of London burned, which he described so famously. Now, I have done that, but I would like to do that again. So tag some others. I am singularly unprepared for this, so I will put some tags in the description box below, and then you may leave, you are dismissed. I will just show you some other biographies or books of letters that I pulled out that I read this one last year, really enjoyed it. There's a furniture maker, and even though he did not have a lot of money at the time, what is it, George Nakamura, something like that? Let me see if I can find him here. Well, he didn't have a lot of money at the time. It might have been just after splitting from his wife or something. Nakashima, that's it, George Nakashima. And he bought this man's furniture, and you can find a nice set of his furniture at, there's a little cottage in the middle of Ritsurin Garden in Japan, and on the second floor they have a bunch of his furniture. And I'd seen the furniture and never really knew anything about the man, and then Bernard Lewis mentions him in here. And that's the delightful kind of connection that you can make when you read this kind of thing, a memoir. So I've shown you the Kafka. Just some other ones that I've read or read partly. You've got Mozart. I read this so long ago, but the general tenor of it sticks with me. I was working at a law firm at the time, and this was what I did when it was slow time. I was a photocopy clerk. I don't know what the title was. And I've read some of Van Gogh's letters from, I think, a different edition, but I've never read this volume completely all the way through. And then if you are a poet of sorts, everybody knows you have to read the letters of John Keats. I think this is just a selection, and I was fine with that selection. Of course, if you read, say, Abraham Lincoln's collected stuff, you get letters as well. As I say, I tend towards letters, but for authors, I will dive deep into biography if I feel inclined, and if I'm working on some kind of a piece, a profile article about an author, then I will look at their biographies, but I don't do that kind of thing now. And then here's one. I've read something else about Nikolai Gogol, but I could not pass this one up. One of my favorite authors. So this should mark the end of my show and tell. I hear that there is a new edition of Emily Dickinson's letters out, which booktuber Hannah at Hannah's Books has reviewed for Open Books, I believe. It's a nice review. I will put a link to it. Otherwise, we have had to rely on, I think, simply a real slim selection at the back of Robert Linscott's edition of her poetry, her adulterated poetry, if you will, but it served the purpose okay. Some of the words were changed. I don't know if I will rush out to get her letters. It is due to come out. Maybe it has come out. I'm not sure. The last time I looked, it was offered for pre-publication. It's very soon, and but I don't know. I don't know how much I need Emily Dickinson's letters. I would probably inclined toward Kafka first, and then I have various memoirs scattered all over the place. Such as that done by Oliver Sacks, the neurologist, which I would hope to get to, but as I say, time is short. So I want to thank both Ros and Elisabeth for inventing this tag and spearheading this event, an event which, because I am sunk in the mire or the quagmire of Les Miserables, I probably will not be joining. But it's a wonderful event, and I want to thank Pat as well for tagging me in this. I've been doing a lot of tags, and a good percentage of that comes from Pat's tags. Thank you, Pat. I don't know how you can be so active. Anyhow, I will leave this there, and thank you for stopping by my channel.